Did studying history full of deceit, selflessness, and war ever make you feel disheartened about human nature and the world? How did you cope with these harsh truths and the red pill awakening? Look, you will be disheartened if you have certain illusions about human nature, if you have a utopian, idealistic view of human nature, if you are, if you imagine or if you believe that human nature is all about good and peace and non-violence, and then you read history and you see the opposite, then you will be disheartened, disillusioned, etc. For me, I have never had these qualms about human nature. I've never had these um, I've never had these wrong ideas about human nature. I have always been a realistic person. I've always understood that human nature is complex, it's complicated, and I've been reading history since I was a kid, and I always saw that history is mainly about warfare. So that tells us that human nature hasn't changed in thousands of years. We have always been that way, and we are still that way, and we will probably remain that way. It's just part of what we are. That's human nature. I think it's genetically wired into us because of the harsh realities of the evolutionary process, sink or swim, survival of the fittest, and all that. That you have to compete for survival. So yeah, so that's part of human nature. So I am very much aware that human history is full of deceit, like you say, deceit, selflessness, and war and violence. It's never made me feel disheartened. It's just what it is. It's just a fact. It's just a reality. What's there to be disheartened about? Um, of course, we can aspire to be better than that, and there have been times in human history where we have had civilizations that have um, been civilized in the sense that even during warfare there would be rules, and such civilized behavior and such rules eventually led to these civilizations being defeated. I'm talking about us, obviously, India, right? I mean, in India, when two kingdoms would go to war, they would never touch civilians. They would never touch farmers. It was always soldiers fighting soldiers. In the rest of the world, in Europe, the civilians are fair game. Uh, there's this guy. His name was Guillaume. He was known. Pardon my French. He was known as William the Bastard. Okay, and he was a Norman duke. He was the fourth or fifth or whatever duke of Normandy, and we're talking about the 11th century. He was an illegitimate child, and he became the duke because his father did not have any other option, so he had to make an illegitimate son his successor as the Duke of Normandy. So this guy William the Bastard, in his 50s, he assembles a fleet of ships and a reasonably big army, and he crosses the English Channel, crosses from Normandy into England, across the English Channel, invades England, gets really lucky and defeats the English king Harold, and he becomes the king of England. And from then onwards he's known as William the Conqueror. And this was the Battle of Hastings. Hastings or Stamford Bridge? Hastings, Battle of Hastings, um, 1066 AD. Now, this guy, William the Conqueror, was known as a very pious man, etc. Now, as he grew older, for some reason, he became really fat and he had a really, really big tummy. Okay, happens. Now, his overlord in France, when he was Duke, was the King of France. And the King of France made a really distasteful joke about William the Conqueror. He compared William the Conqueror to a woman who is pregnant. Very distasteful joke. So William got really offended, really, really offended. And he crossed over into France. He invaded France. And let me show you where this happened, okay? There's a city called Mont. Where is Mont? It's in France. Let's go out, zoom in. Okay, okay. This is where Mont is, okay? So he comes to the city of Mont, which is a nice, pretty city with nice landmarks and all. And he sacks the city and he has everybody killed. He burns the church and the people inside the church. And he said it is fair game because these people who I'm killing are part of the insult that was offered to me. So this happened in Moth. Now, when the city was burning, a flying piece of coal came and his horse stepped on it. And because of the pain, his horse reared up on its hind legs, and the pommel of the saddle, it pressed into William's stomach and burst his bowels. And this led to his excruciatingly painful death a few days later. That's how William the Conqueror died. And I showed you where this happened, in the city of Moth. Now, his actions are brutal, barbaric, but part of the rules of war in Europe, in that culture, in Christendom. It's part of the culture that if another country's king insults me, I have the right to go and fight him, which is fine. But I have the right to kill the citizens of that country, because they are part of the insult that was offered to me. So, if you study history, you will come across so many examples like these. And that is just the harsh reality of human nature and warfare. And we in India we tried to live by different rules. And those rules, because our kings adhered to them unquestioningly and blindly, even when faced with barbarians, that's why we got defeated. If Prithviraj Chauhan had been ruthless, and if other Rajput kings and other kings had been ruthless and treated the barbarians like animals, not like civilized people, then the outcomes would have been different. So the point is, we should be aware of human nature. We should be aware of what others are capable of. And don't let that make you feel disheartened. Well, it's just what it is. Facts are facts. Facts don't care about anyone's feelings. So there we have it.